Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to the first Cichlids and Coffee for 2023. And I appreciate all of you who arrived early. I see you in the chat, in the conversation. And the Blind Fish Keeper in the house. Hey, Brandon, good to see you, buddy. Cat Sailor in the house. Hey, Salient. Salient Aquatics in the house. All right. GP. A couple of my moderators, Salient and GP, are moderators of the channel, as well as Cichlid Kings. Keep everything on track. Philly 215. Hey, Philly, how you doing, my friend? Hope you're having a cup of coffee out of one of these. These are available at my Teespring store, as well as T-shirts and other good swag. Be sure to check it out. Teespring. A.R. Baglio and David Martin in the house. Billy D. Great sound of that, right? Billy D. And Jackie Moore in the house. Hi, Jackie. Country strong and free. I sure hope so. And all right. So peas and habs forever. Good to see you there, my friend. Z-Zip in the house. So we have a interesting topics to cover today, as well as a giveaway. Why? Because I forgot to give away something. Well, didn't so much forget as I ran out of time, and I forgot to give away a couple of very cool items that I should have given away at the Christmas giveaway. But I have them today, and so I will give them away today. So hang in there for that, and also hang in there, of course, for today's topic, which is why the rant. I'm not a ranter. I don't normally rant. There's some folks out there whose entire channel is one rant after another. Not my style, not how I roll. But I was just upset. And at any rate, we'll get into all of that very, very shortly. Let's go ahead and officially start this live stream. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that sub and the bell and the thumbs up. Let YouTube know that something good's going on here. We're very close. We're creeping up on 50,000. Man, it's like, it's like that, you kind of move up there, and then that last little bit, is just really hard to kind of get over that finish line. I'm not going to call it a finish line, but that first goal of 50,000. And so keep spreading the word. If you haven't subbed, I'd appreciate it if you would. And if you have, thank you very much for that. It is very appreciated. So a quick shout out to those of you who are members of the Patreon Garage Gang. Thank you so much for that monthly support. It is very, very appreciated. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Aquarium Co-op. And you'll see later in today's video why I am giving them a special shout out to Corey, Zenzo, Candy, the whole gang over there at the Aquarium Co-op. Thank you for the support of the channel. And of course, to the Cichlid Shack. And I'm not really sure how much longer that discount is even going to be offered. This is probably the last live stream that I will bring up that discount, because it's just sort of run its course. So that'll be the end of that. So, but thank you so much, James, for your support during 2022. That was an amazing run we had there. So for those of you interested in the Patreon program, just go ahead and look under the video. There's a link to the Patreon program. Starts for as little as $3 a month, and it helps me to continue to produce content. For those of you interested in things like coffee cups and T-shirts, be sure to visit Teespring. And for those of you who would like to help the channel other ways, you can also visit Amazon using the Amazon link, anything you buy on Amazon will give the channel a credit, whether it's from my store or anywhere on Amazon. And so that's another great way to help the channel. So that's it for the commercials. Let's make this commercial free from here on out. So let me see if I can get a add something on the fly here to the stream. Bear with me. I'm going to try and bring in a video for you. If I can find it. Just a short video that will help to emphasize what it is we're talking about today. Here it is. All right. This is the last Cobalt heater for me. All on its own, it decided to go to 94 degrees.
Can you see that there? That's that video that
94 degrees without being adjusted or touched.
And
it's shot up to 94 degrees.
Sideways, but it's a video I
That's
loaded
it. No more
as a
Cobalt
short
for me.
on YouTube. And essentially, it was just a short rant on the Cobalt heater. Now, Cobalt had assured me that, and this is from a couple years ago, so I thought they were way past this point, that they had fixed the issue. Now, maybe it's because of the design, the flat, you know, that sort of flat, sleek, sexy design they go for. I don't know what the deal is, but for some reason, I come down to the fish room in the morning, and there's steam coming off of a 29-gallon aquarium. You can imagine, you know, my reaction when I look at it. I go, "What the heck is going on?" That, like, and I put my hand over the aquarium, and heat. I can feel the heat. Needless to say, the one fish, and I guess in that sense, I'm fortunate. Of course, really fortunate would have been if it didn't happen at all. But the one fish that was in there was this guy here, the smaller gold red spotted Severum. Needless to say, he was just floating around, cooked, and so I had to of course dispose of him and then cool down the tank rapidly so that the snails and the plants that were in there, they wouldn't die as well. Surprisingly, the snails are okay, the plants are okay. The aquarium got up to about 95 degrees. So now, one of the reasons I don't rant is because every time I do a rant, or anytime I get upset about something, I usually end up going full circle and then coming back to what could I have done differently. You know, have you heard that saying about when you point your finger at somebody or something, your thumb points back at you? And that's sort of where I ended up on this whole thing, because you know I'm a big advocate of controllers, of heater controllers. I talk about them in many videos. I'm very big on them. But I have this one little holding tank that was being used very sparingly and hardly at all, and so it was running without a controller, right? One of the only tanks I don't have any kind of controller on, and I paid the price. If a controller had been on there. Now, for those of you not intimately familiar with it, this is an example of a controller. This is something very inexpensive you can pick up on Amazon. I even have them at my Amazon store from Inkbird. And what it is you set the temperature, and when the sensor of the controller, right, it has a sensor. It has this little sensor that goes into the aquarium. And when that sensor picks up that you've hit the desired temperature in your aquarium, what it does is it shuts the power off. It just, you plug your heaters into these sockets. So in this case, I could support 2 heaters with this. And so, like in a bigger tank, we have 2 heaters. So, I've got a couple of these laying around, so there's no real excuse for not having had a controller on there. So what this would have done is at 79 or 80 degrees, it would have simply cut the power off. And that Cobalt heater would have continued to malfunction every time the temperature would drop and the controller would allow the juice to go in, but it would never let the tank overheat. It would simply cut off the power. So it wouldn't matter that the heater was malfunctioning. It wouldn't matter because, as a matter of fact, I have a Cobalt heater that I'm still using in the 55-gallon across from me here, where I have that Autopharynx tetrastigma, and with the Jack Sparrow, the one-eyed Jack, and that Cobalt, for all I know, that Cobalt heater might also be malfunctioning, but it's plugged into one of my SureTemp, one of those True Temp controllers, and so whenever that tank hits 79 to 80 degrees, power is cut off, and so the heater just shuts down and cools down and isn't allowed to go crazy. Now, that doesn't help you if a heater dies. In other words, if a heater stops working and doesn't heat at all, of course, a controller isn't going to give you any kind of warning. And there may be some systems out there that if a tank gets too cold, they might give you a warning. But on a basic controller, that's not going to happen. You're just going to, it just shuts off when it hits a certain temperature. So if a heater is dead, you'll only notice that by checking the temp of your tank and noticing that it's gone down into the high 60s or something, or into the low 70s, depending where you keep your tank, right? So I have these. Now, if you're going to add a controller, there's different kinds. Like this kind of controller here, I couldn't use necessarily with a 1,000-watt or an 800-watt heater. I have 1,000 and an 800-watt heater in the 300-gallon, one in the sump and one inside the tank, and I have one in the 210. Those have those high wattage heaters. So if you buy a controller, be sure that you check out the wattage that it can handle, because if you put about 1,800 watts through this, I might just burn it out. It's not rated for that. What I have to do for the larger aquariums is I have to use something like this. This is a controller from a company called Gemco. Gemco is a big retail provider. I think they're located in Los Angeles, but they fulfilled this order actually out of New Jersey, which was interesting to me. And they were pretty fast in getting it to me. And if you have a big tank and you're using high wattage heaters, which sometimes is the only choice you have to go with something like this. If you can see that. This is a real heavy duty unit. It weighs it's like a brick, and it's rated at 1,800 watts. And it has two plugins, one on each side. A very heavy duty. Look at that thing. Very heavy duty cord. And of course the sensor on it as well. Everything on it about it is just super heavy duty. You're going to pay probably between $30 and $45 for the Inkbird. You'll pay about $100 for this. Is it worth it? I don't know. If can you imagine every fish behind me being dead, just cooked? What would be the cost of replacing that? And the truth is that the cost of replacing one Severum is $35 to $45, really, depending where you're shopping. You want a red spotted gold Severum. So if I had had a $30 controller on that tank, it would have paid for itself on that one incident with one fish. The controller would have paid for itself. So that's really the takeaway on this whole thing is, yeah, I put a rant out there, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but Cobalt really should have those things set up for the price they charge. They should really have those things set up a little bit more ruggedly. But at the same time, I do have a takeaway from it, and that's that I need to have controllers on all of my aquariums. Now, there are some safeguards built into certain heaters that will prevent them from going crazy. And the heaters that come from the Aquarium Co-op, and this is where I mentioned earlier, I was going to give a big shout out to the co-op. Corey heard my rant and sent me this. This is a whole box of heaters ranging from 50 to 100 watts. A little bit low on the wattage for the bigger tanks, unless I wanted to put a dozen of them in there. But the for the application that I'm doing right now, the 20, the 29, these are perfect, and they supposedly have a built-in heater guard, and I'm hoping that means that they actually will detect a malfunction and shut down, but I'm still going to use them with a controller. Now, take a look at this. And apparently he contacted and worked with various companies, including the company that makes the Cobalt Ecotherm, and that company was eliminated as a possible manufacturer. But take a look at this. Talk about a sexy slim design. How cool is that? It's got a nice hard shell, so if you do have some fish that are larger and banging around, it's not going to break the element inside of it. Some nice suction cups that I hope work, and a very simple control knob, and the readout will appear on the heater, the readout of where you're at. So very nice design, and this one is 100 watts. 100 watts. I mean, what is that? 4.5, 5 inches, maybe, by 3 inches. So thank you, Corey, and Zenzo, Candy, the whole crew at Aquarium Co-op for the backup. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to be installing those into the aquariums. Now, I think I missed a super chat here. Let me see. There was a super chat. Where did it go? For those of you not familiar, a super chat is a way for you to support the channel by throwing a little money. I always think of that, the pole dancer. I've got a terrible mind. Okay, let's get it started for the new year. R. Baglio, thanks for all your time and knowledge. Thank you, R. Baglio. I appreciate that for that super chat. Very, very appreciated. And I think he came in, let me see here. And very, very good. Okay. Oh, wait, Warren. Warren comes in as well. Ben, thanks for the live streams. I really enjoy them. All the best for the new year. Thank you, my friend. Very, very nice of you for that super chat. And I think that's the super chats. Let's see here. All right. That's the super chats. So what do you folks think about that? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts about heaters, controllers, about malfunctions, about, I mean, we know that Cobalt had a little bit of a rocky history. I met with the Cobalt rep at I think it was the ACA in Houston a while back, and they assured me it was corrected. I know that Joey, King of DIY, had a problem with them, but I think his situation was he strapped a bunch of them together and put them into a tank. You're not supposed to strap them together, but yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on it, on what you think about. Do you use controllers? Have you had situations with heater malfunctions? What was the outcome? I'd be curious to find out about that. And of course, we all learn from each other on this channel. So, comment either now on the chat or comment, after you see this on the replay. I would really like to see that. And also, if you have a heater that's a favorite of yours, I noticed someone mentioned the Aquarium heaters. If you have a heater that you have had very, very good results, definitely share it. Davey Larson comes in with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And that will be getting put to good use. The 55-gallon aquarium across from me, full of community fish, is going to be getting a live plant makeover. I'm also going to be moving the Marineland hang-on back filter from the other 55 over into the community tank, and taking out the large, those expert matics, and putting those expert matics, probably put one of them into the other 55. But so I'm going to be making a trip over to the Aquatic Critter here in Nashville and picking up some plants. I also got a line in on some rasboras, some very nice rasboras. I'll probably pick up 4 or 5 of those and add them to the community after quarantine them. Rasbora was one of my first fish. When you close your eyes and think back to your child, okay, what's the first memory you have regarding an aquarium? Very first that one that you think of and go, wow, I kind of got the bug right away. For me, it was a very small tank, and it had rasboras, harlequin rasboras, and neon tetras in a very small tank. And so picking up some rasboras for me is kind of going back to my very, very first fish, very, very first tank. So I went to a couple places, and in a couple places the rasboras are real skinny, but this one place had some nice round fat ones, really healthy looking. So I'm going to pick up some of those, about $3 or $4 a piece. Not bad. So oh yeah, it's a good cup of coffee. So let's take a look at some of the things that you're saying. And I love picking up your questions. Let me just change here over to the chat, and let's see what you're all about here. Oh wait, but before I do that, I got something to give away. Let's go here instead, and my friends over at Higer. And I just want to say something about Higer, because I've done reviews of some Higer products, and in some cases I've been brutal, just absolutely brutal. And they smile, they go, we got it, and we're going to do better, we're going to try and do better, and we appreciate your input, and they continue to back the channel. And to me, that shows something. that shows something. And when I contacted them about the giveaway that I was contemplating, they got right back to me and said, yes, we'd like to participate. We'd like to throw a couple things in the mix. So what they threw in are a nice air pump, which you can see here retails on Amazon for almost $50. This is a strong air pump with 2 outlets. And they also are throwing in a very nice dual sponge filter that contains a compartment at the bottom where you can put media, if you want to put media down there, I guess. This is the sponge filter that I'm very similar. Actually, this is the sponge filter I'm using in the Pleco tank. And it works perfectly. And I imagine if you paired it with something as strong as this, it would be pretty amazing, strong as this pump. But let's go ahead and let's start with the pump. If you need a real nice pump, go ahead and type in Hygger pump in the chat. Hygger pump in the chat. And if you're a subscriber and not a moderator, we can't have moderators win for obvious reasons, but if you're a subscriber to the channel and your name gets picked on Hygger pump, you'll go ahead and get this Hygger pump sent to you. So go ahead and start typing Hygger pump in the chat, and then I will randomly pick, I will move the chat around while not looking, and whatever ends up on the cursor on my end will receive a very nice pump. And then after we're done with Hygger pump, we'll go ahead and do the sponge filter. So now remember, Cichlid Kings, you can't win if you're a moderator. I see you laughing, you cheater. You see, you should have those two YouTube accounts though. All right. Let's see. If you want a Hygger pump, go ahead and type Hygger pump in the chat. Only Hygger pump. Just everybody else hang back a little bit so that all the Hygger pump are clustered together. Sean, you got to change your mind. You got to change your mind. Maybe you do win sometimes. Maybe you will win. Maybe you have to change your mind about that. You got to believe. You got to believe. Pump me up. No, Solar King Ronnie. It's not pump me up. Oh my goodness. Dan, it's Hygger. Even though if you got picked with Hugger, I would probably still send it to you. Hugger works. And thank you for pointing that out, Andrew. You really want to be in the continental United States to win, because the shipping would be more than the cost of the pump. So all right, let's go ahead and I'm going to move this chat around, and let's go ahead and pick a winner for the Hygger pump. How can that be? How can Country Strong and Free be the winner? How's that possible? Country Strong and Free. Send me your complete name and mailing address to ben.o.cichlid, and in the email, be sure to note that you won the Hygger pump. All right. Now, go ahead and type in Hygger sponge. Just Hygger sponge is fine. Hygger sponge, and let's give away the sponge filter. Sea Country Strong and Free, you probably thought you never win anything, right? All right. So go ahead and type in Hygger sponge. These are great sponge filters. They come with an extra set of sponges, so that if the sponges ever wear down, you've got a replacement set that comes with it. And it produces, of course, like every sponge filter, bubbles. And it comes also with media that you can put into the bottom section below the sponges. It comes with little ceramic balls that you can put down there as well. So it's kind of a cool setup. Would work really well with, like in a 20, maybe up to a 29 gallon. If you want something that with just a little bit of bubbles at the top, not a lot of water movement, I think it'd be good maybe wouldn't be bad for a betta tank, let's say, something like that. So let's see here. All right, let's see here. Saline Aquatic abolished the mod rule. Oh, I'm going to send you something, my friend, because you're a moderator. Moderators do get something. Oink Master Supreme Forever is in the house. How are you? All right, so if you want a sponge, a Hygger sponge, go ahead and type Hygger sponge in the chat, and I will go ahead and mix it up. And let's go ahead and pick somebody here for the Hygger sponge. Terrace Bauer? Terrace Bauer. Terrace Bauer, you're the winner. You're the winner, Terrace. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and send your name and mailing address to me at ben.o.cichlid, and be sure to note on the subject line and in the email that you won the sponge filter from Hygger. That is very, very cool. And I'm glad I could share some of these cool things with you. Jeff Hester says that black mollies were his first fish. I had black mollies early on too. They are cool fish. You know what I love too? I love those. They look like Dalmatians. The black and white, spotted. I think they're a type of molly, right? That's a type of molly. And they look like Dalmatian. Like someone took a white molly and just threw a bunch of black paint on them. And they're very, very cute. And so, one of my favorite fish. Jerry's Fish Room. He's resigning so he can participate in giveaways. Oh, everybody's a comedian. Let's see here. Be sure to visit Jerry's Fish Room and on YouTube. He's got a beautiful 180 gallon, I think, 180 gallon tank he picked up from our friends over at Glass Cages in Dixon, Tennessee. They're the ones that made this 300 gallon behind me, the 210, the 90, and just master tank builders. So give me some questions, folks. This mug, by the way, is available at the Teespring store. This is the Oscar mug. But I've got a lot of other mugs there, cichlid mugs. I've got a eye biter mug. I've got some peacock mugs. And so check those out over at Teespring. So let's see here. Let's see here. Take the products off the screen. You are right. Let me go back to the main screen. And go back to this main screen. There we go. All right. Thank you for that. Let's take a look here. How some of the tanks are doing. Then we'll take up some of your questions. So as you can see, the big bully gold severum is alive and well in the 90 gallon. And that the gold severum that I lost would have been fine if I could have left him in the 90 gallon. And so I'm actually blaming that gold severum for what happened. Actually, no, I'm not. But that gold severum is doing great, and you can see those geos are just becoming ginormous. I'd really like to add some red Tapajos into the mix here. As you can see, the 90 gallon is doing great. The GT, the green tear, is actually eating very, very aggressively and putting on some really good size. I'm really happy that he's finally blooming. I was wondering if I was ever going to be able to send him over to the 210. He's almost ready to go over to the 210. Now, do you think that electric blue Ochart that you see right there in the middle of the tank, do you think that fish would do okay in the 210? Do you think a big electric blue Ochart would get along with Salvinis and Oscars and fish like that? Let me know in the comments if you've ever put a fish like that in a tank mixed like that, and what was the outcome. I'd be curious to hear. Moving over to the 300. These fish continue to defy the odds and actually get along with each other. Doesn't mean there isn't an occasional chase. Of course there is, but nothing that is alarming. Nobody's really going after and trying to destroy anybody. Now, interestingly, in the 210, the Salvini was actually getting into it with the Red Tiger Oscar. And man, they were really going at it for a little bit. And then it just sort of calmed down. And I don't know if they just established who's in charge. They finally decided who was going to be higher in the pecking order. But let me see if I can get him to come over more towards the middle so you can see him a little better. See that giant vieja. There's one of the chocolate cichlids that usually don't come up to the front. Actually, both the chocolates are up there, which is kind of surprising because they've already been fed. The Jack Dempsey there is on the right. The Nicaragua. Now, the Nicaragua is continuing to get into it with the firemouth. They face off and then go back to their corners. There they go. You see them? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Yeah, going at it with each other. And then there you go. Looks like the Nicaragua started to back off there. Never really gets too violent. All right, let's take up some of your questions. I like those Christmas lights on the aquarium, so I left them on there. I just turned them on for the live stream. Kind of festive. Let's see what some of your questions are. I'm looking at the chat right now. And did I miss a super chat? Let's see. It doesn't look like I missed a super chat. If I did, let me know, moderators. I did get Warren Venter. Thank you for that. Davey Larson, I did get that super chat. All right. Okay. All right, good. So let's take up some of your comments and questions. Country Strong and Free, the fish that got me interested in fish keeping was my mom's red belly piranha when I was a kid. But today my favorite tank is my 120 South American Tetra tank. Wow, very cool. Very, very cool. What kind of tetras do you have in there? You know, I've just fallen in love with the lemons. The lemon tetras, I think, are just beautiful. The Buenos Aires tetras, I mean, they act like little piranha when it's time to eat. They go to the top and they splash around. I mean, they're not just little docile fish. They're very, very active. The red serpas, I think, are beautiful tetras. The lemons, though, there's something about those lemons, that sort of translucent yellow in those lemon tetras. It's just really, really pretty. Let me see. Oh, boy. Sean says that his green tear got killed by my vieja, and it was a big loss. Oh, yeah. Yeah, green tears are beautiful, and that vieja must be really aggressive. My vieja just seems to, I mean, he was very aggressive with the other vieja that I had to get rid of because he was beating up that vieja, and he was getting beaten up by that azul. Remember that blue vieja that I had? That was very aggressive. I had to get rid of that one. Beautiful fish. And, but this vieja just kind of cruises around now and doesn't really bother anybody, and nobody bothers him because he's just a massive fish. But let's see here. Let's see. Sean, non-Giants fan? What you talk about baseball? Oh, okay. Let's see here. I think we have a big game Monday night, right? Well, football fans. All right, so let's see here. I'm looking for questions. Questions in the chat. It looks like a big boss Geo ended up killing a subdominant male in the Cichlid King's aquarium. Man, oh man. You know, you wouldn't think. I mean, geos, the geos I have in this tank do go at it with each other, and they will even lock up jaws, right? They'll lock their jaws, and but they have mellowed out over time. And I never consider geos as a highly aggressive fish, but wow. There you go. I guess when you start getting into breeding and the claiming of territory and wanting to have control over the females in the tank, yeah, I could see how that could like I'm sure that what's going on in the 210, if I had a male Nicaragua that I ended up getting rid of because when they would go into their breeding behavior and start digging out a pit, setting up, claiming one of the caves to breed in, they became very territorial and very violent. And so I ended up having to get rid of the male, and I kept the female Female's a little smaller, but has a lot better color. Doesn't get that big hump. You know, they can, during breeding, they can get a little bit of a hump. And I'm not too crazy about those big nuchal humps, you know. So if my green tear is a male, ends up with a big hump, you know, is what it is. But I'm not crazy about the way those humps look. Like you know, some fish that have those ridiculous bulb, you know, brainiac things. I'm not crazy about that look, even though some of them can be very cool fish. I'm not crazy about that look. Jerry says that he had to separate some of his red top geos. Well, there you go. The truth about geos is being revealed here. Don't think of them as peaceful fish. Hey, Denny in the house. Dennis Rudell, another moderator. Dennis, I'd like to put maybe 4 or 5. I'd like to replace the Autopharynx tetrastigma. Maybe put a big spot in there. Maybe even try a few, maybe try some peacocks. You know, I have a bicolor 500 in there that they leave alone. Peacocks I have found to be very aggressive, more so than haps, believe it or not. For me, that's been my experience. So, but maybe a few peacocks. Some of the ones I like the most, we'll see. Some protomelas, you know, fish that get a little hardier, a little bigger. Maybe a fire hap. Fire hap would be nice. For those of you that have watched the channel for a long time, do you remember the fire hap that I had in Los Angeles in the 150? That was a beautiful fish. Very aggressive, very husky, thick fish. Beautiful fish. But I wouldn't mind a fire hap. They could probably hold their own. Sean says, don't put the blue Aquarium in the 210. The Vieja Salvini, firemouth, tough and aggressive, could kill it anytime. All right, yeah, that's the kind of feedback I'm looking for. You know, that blue Aquarium is very mellow. The older fish, holds his own. Nobody messes with him in the tank he's in. But, of course, the fish that are with him in the 90 are not at the caliber of aggression that, you know, a firemouth or a Jack Dempsey, you know, might be at an Oscar. I mean, those are famous, notoriously famous, aggressive fish. So thank you for that, Sean. Appreciate that input. All right. I'm looking at your thoughts and questions, ideas, and tips. What is a good nitrate level to keep Geophagus, Vinny, and angelfish in the same tank? Nitrate level? Are you thinking nitrate or pH? If you're asking about nitrates, I don't worry about nitrates unless they're over 80 parts per million. 80. Over 80, I would hurry up with a water change. But if I'm you know, between 20 and 40, I don't worry about nitrates. I think the fish are going to adapt. I think you're probably better off going with 20, 30% water changes to prevent. I mean, you're going to get a much harsher reaction to a shift in pH or a big shift in temperature or forgetting to treat the water that comes in. You're going to get a much bigger reaction to that than leaving nitrates at about 40. You just got to look at the risk and rewards, right? That's just my opinion. How you do it ultimately is up to you. But I do 30% water changes, even on my big cichlid tank here. I do 30% water changes. Now, in a brand new tank that isn't as mature, that isn't as seasoned, you might want maybe you might want to do larger water changes. I don't know. But, you know, once a tank gets a little bit mature, it's going to develop some of that, you know, anaerobic bacteria, especially if you're running a deep substrate like I am, or if you're, you know, deep substrate that stays relatively calm, right? From 2 inches on down, gonna stay pretty calm. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of oxygen. You're gonna get some anaerobic bacteria that's gonna eat up a little bit of those nitrates. Convert them, give you a full cycle, right? But so I shared a video. Maybe one of the moderators can share that video on nitrates, on whether it's is it a follow the money scam? Are we being sold a lot of additives? Are we being scared into buying a lot of additives, water conditioners that may not necessarily be as needed as we think? And of course, you're going to use more if you do more frequent large water changes. You're going to use more of those chemicals. So just some things to consider. Jerry says, currently watching my red top and Jurapari geo facing off. The Juraparis are beautiful. Their shape is a bit unique. I love the Jurapari geos. Very unique looking fish. And of course, red tops. I think they're beautiful, especially when they put on size and they get those long trailing fins and the stripes. And it's beautiful, beautiful fish. Angelo comes in with a super chat. Thanks for the info on the heater controller. I've been talking about them for a while, and you've heard the saying, right? The shoemaker with no shoes. And that's basically what happened to me. I got caught not following my own advice. And if I had been following my own advice, I probably wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know that Cobalt heater malfunctioned. The only way I would have known would be if the controller malfunctioned and didn't turn the power off. Otherwise, it would have been business as usual, right? Looks like Sean has some redhead tapajos that are breeding. Very, very cool. What do they normally, how many eggs do they lay, you think? Maybe some fish will lay 200-300 eggs at a time. So I hope you have some extra tanks. You're going to need some extra tanks. Philly 215 comes in with a super chat. Very, very good. Thank you for that, my friend. You don't necessarily have to pay for the answers, but it's appreciated when people throw a little super chat at me. GP talking about stability. That's the Seachem product that you can use as isn't stability. That's the bacteria in a bottle product. I've used Fritzzyme 7 has been my product of choice, and I've had very good results with it. Now, just to add to that, now just full disclosure, when I say that I've had good results with Fritzzyme 7, keep in mind that normally when I use it, I also use it in conjunction with media from an established tank. So if you use media from an established tank, the truth is you probably don't need Fritzzyme 7. But being, overly careful when I set up a new tank and wanting to add fish to it usually instantly, not a lot of fish, but, start adding some right away. Not a bad idea anyway, since you need the ammonia production to feed the bacteria, right? So I will throw in some media from an established tank. I'll throw in some Fritzzyme 7. Just be sure that you're throwing it into water that has been conditioned. And my normal setup routine of a new tank is half the tank water from an established tank for pH purposes, not for beneficial bacteria because there's hardly any floating in the water column. But 50% water from an established tank, 50% water from the tap, treated so that there isn't any impact of ammonia, chlorine, chloramine going on. Because if you don't treat it and you put in your Fritzyme 7 or your media from an established tank, there's a good chance you're going to kill off the good bacteria. And that's the main reason that the rep from Fritz told me that people reported that Fritzyme didn't work. When they looked a little bit deeper, they found two reasons. One, putting the product into untreated water. And two, the product had expired. They bought some Fritzyme 7, they put it on the shelf, they let it sit there for a long time, or the store had it in stock for too long, and they sold a bottle of expired Fritzyme 7. So watch for the expiration on the bottle. Stability Seachem should probably have that expiration on there as well. And look for, just be sure that when you add those products or filter media from an established tank, it is into water that is treated, or you are back to zero. So Cat Sailor comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Cat Sailor. We're starting the year off here with a bang here with these super chats. Sailing Aquatic, Ben, you demand. Oh my goodness. Thank you, my friend. It looks like Country Strong and Free uses Fritz Complete. I do use Fritz Complete. I like Fritz. When I met with the reps from Fritz, I was impressed with what they told me about how they do research. This is not a knock on any other company. I love Sarah. I love Seachem. I've had great results with all these products. And so when I say one product, it doesn't mean that another product does not work. And Phillips, my country only sells Nutrifin and Tetra products. The Amazon prices for Fritz and Seachem is tripled. It's so weird. Isn't that odd? That's so odd. What country are you in, Ann? I'd be curious. The funny thing, Ann, is that if I went to your country and tried to get human medication, I would probably pay 10% of what it cost here in the United States. So isn't that odd? I saw a video of somebody up in Canada buying blood pressure medication, and they said they were paying 10% what they would pay in the United States. So what's going on? All right. We are almost on the hour. We are getting close to winding down. So if you have any questions you want to ask me now. I can't give you a preview of an upcoming video because I really haven't started on another one. I did a video on test strips, but I don't like the way it came out, and so I didn't post it. But I am going to be releasing a video on test strips. Scuba Steve owes Aquatics in the house. Hey, Scuba. Do you scuba? I snorkel. I don't scuba, but boy, I love snorkeling. Someone who loves fish, imagine you being one of the fish in the aquarium. And that's what it feels like when you snorkel, and I'm sure when you scuba. Let's see here. Country Strong and Free. Yes, the Fritz team is very knowledgeable. They do a great job and care greatly for customers. Not saying other companies. Yeah, I agree. Same here. Philly 215 Aquatics. I did fishless cycle, adding Fritz fishless fuel, and Turbo Start 700. Cannot complain about the results. Yeah, that fuel that they have is basically ammonia. Adding ammonia, and then you got to add the bacteria, right, to eat the ammonia. Whip Swirl comes in with a super chat. I got 12 electric blue Acaras, but they are not in with my bruisers in the big tank. Ben, I wouldn't risk it if it were me. Thank you for that. I really love this old guy. I inherited him from a friend here in Nashville, so I think I will leave him in the 90 where he's doing well. He's an older fish. I mean, you can tell by the size. And by the way, the 2 silver dollars are doing great in there as well. I want to add some more because silver dollars are the kind of fish that school. And I think 3 or 4 more silver dollars in the 90 would be nice when I move out the green tear. I think that'd be nice. Now, what about the red shoulder and my big geos? You think the big geos and the red shoulder would do okay with the Oscars and the chocolates and the Salvinis and the Jack Dempsey's? What do you think about that? Bringing the big geos over. There's some good sized geos, I'll tell you that. And they do tend to hold their own. But again, do you mess with success? You know, do you? All right, let's see. Any more questions here? Rocky and Miles, I snorkeled the Bahamas. It was amazing. Isn't it? It's like kind of like life-changing, you know, especially in these warm water areas where you just walk right in, and wherever you put your head, you see just beautiful fish, just incredible fish. Parrotfish, gorgeous parrotfish. And anyway, sometimes you'll see an eel. Just incredible. Just incredible. Peas and haps forever. What do you think about a Malawi barracuda? I'm not crazy about their color. The teeth are crazy, even though I've heard that they're mellow fish. And I hope I'm not violating confidence. I hope he's not going to be doing a big reveal. But John over at KG told me that he picked up a barracuda. I'm anxious to look at it, but I think they're cool fish. I think they're crazy looking fish with all those teeth, but they are mellow. They're not aggressive, and their colors can be a little plain for my taste, but certainly a fun fish to have in the aquarium. You're going to get comments. People are going to come over and go, "Oh my goodness, what's going on with that?" Just a very interesting fish. So, Whip Swirl, I think they'd be okay. The big Salvinis or the big Geos, I think they'd be okay, but you'd have to be vigilant. Yep, I agree. Philly 215, can I have a pair of blue Aquara in a 55-gallon? Because of how they swim around, kind of calm and slow, I think a couple, even 3 or 4 in a 55, depending, it's, of course, keep your tank nice and pristine. Don't put a ton of other fish in there. I think they'd be fine. I think they'd be fine in there. I mean, they don't get enormous. They don't get enormous, and they grow kind of slowly. I think they'd be pretty in a 55. My opinion. Snorkel King Ronnie. So I'm calling you Snorkel King Ronnie now because you lived in St. Croix. But it's Solar King Ronnie, lived in St. Croix for 2 years and had a company called Snorkeling Safaris. I had a blast, made a lot of money too. Man, that would have been hard for me to leave. Why in the world did you leave that? It sounds like paradise. All right, Z-Zip, absolutely. Let's say, listening, super active, great personality. All right. Anyway, yeah, electric blue Acaras, one of my favorite fish. I think I put a video out once called The Perfect Cichlid, and I think it had a couple electric blue Acaras on it. So thank you very much to everybody who threw in a super chat today. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, the members of the Garage Gang, and thank you to all of my subscribers. We're creeping up on 50,000, so a big shout out to you. Thank you to my moderators, best moderators on YouTube, and I think with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end off for today. You folks are totally the best. Let's make a 2023 the best year ever. What do you think? 2023, you heard it here. Let's make it the best year of our lives. Why not? Why not you? Why not you? Why not me? Thank you, my friends. I will see you again soon. And with that, let's go ahead and end off. And I'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.